Hello. We've had a lot of rain lately, so right now we're working on some of our other projects. This is a Model M Allis Chalmers crawler. It uses a Allis Chalmers motor. This is the later 4.5 by 5 inch motor. Has a wet sleeve engine, so if we have problems with this bore or corrosion and whatnot, which judging by that manifold you can pretty much guarantee we'll have, we can get replacement sleeves and pistons and rings and such. So we'll get into it here. So we'll have to start with removing the hood, and directly under the hood is the fuel tank. You can see it under there on top of the manifold. The other one that we've got had a heat shield there to guard the fuel, to cover the fuel tank, but we'll probably end up having to add one to this one. So we'll see how things go. Cleaning the platform area up a little bit. You can see it's got a lot of debris in here. It's got a seat cushion, a spring seat cushion. Unfortunately, that's the wrong seat cushion, but there's a little piece of trim that goes around the front of the frame that holds the cushion up, and that piece of trim is correct. But so wherever this was sitting must have had some locusts. Look at the size of the thorn on that stick. That is a thorn. That's not a broken off stick. So I'm thinking that must be a locust. And you probably saw a mosquito on my finger. The hood straps are held on with a square-headed bolt and nut. The nut sits here in the strap in such a way that if everything's brand new and loose, it works great. But with it being a little rusted in that, it's always kind of a 50-50 chance whether or not they'll work. What I've got is, first try, I've sprayed some penetrating oil on it. Got a crescent wrench. I can put it on the outside of the strap to hold it. Hopefully this works the first time. Oh, we're lucky. Let's keep it working. These are held the same way on each side of the hood, but you really only need to, unless it's really tight, I only need to take off one side for now. Eventually, if this were everything were nice and new and or redone and pretty paint and everything, I'd worry about it more and release a little bit on both sides and lift the whole strap off. But not having, one of the benefits of not having fresh, perfect paint, don't have to be as cautious. Put this back in, thread it in so I don't lose the bolt and nut. In addition to the two straps, front and back, this one would have there originally would have been another screw with a square headed nut on the back here and a matching one on the other side. Those are not on this one, and I just noticed now that the the nut is rusted off the back of this nut screw. So next we'll lift it off. Now this does have a petrol starting tank to be able to run this on dual fuel. You could have run it on kerosene, started on gas, run it on kerosene once you warmed up, or a similar heavier fuel. One thing I'm noticing, it's been a while since this was run. This is the original tin canister oil filter. And the other thing I'm seeing here, this is the a V-belt for accessories. Wherever this was had real light sandy soil. You can kind of see it there. It's real sandy and loose. So I believe the auction company we bought it from, when we bought it, I think they said it came out of Nebraska somewhere. I'm not sure where out there, but we'll see how things look inside the motor. As I said before, the condition of that exhaust manifold is not encouraging them. As I said, the manifold was in a sad state. While I was lifting the hood off, it fell apart the rest of the way. So that's kind of what I have to look forward to looking inside, I think. As you can see, with the hood off, this upper rear bulkhead came off with the hood. So now I've got access to the back of the fuel tank here, and the fuel tank, the back was held on by the same strap that held the hood down, so it was just kind of sandwiched. The front has another strap on it, so I get to take another one off. I've got the fuel tank off. Normally I would have taken the fuel line off and taken the bowl off with the tank, but when I tried to loosen the fuel line, the fuel bulb fell off. You can see it's corroded up at the top there. Now, someone watching may think, why are you taking this all the way apart without explaining that, yes, it is stuck. It's very stuck. I pulled the spark plugs out, and this is what the ends of the spark plugs look like. You can pretty much guarantee that that's what the inside of that motor is going to look like. So I'm looking at probably 90% certain new sleeves, pistons, and rings, and valves. Hopefully we won't have to worry about not being able to save the head. Next off, I'll take the water jacket off, the valve cover, and disconnect the water pump, and then we'll be able to get the head off. And, well, I'll have to take the manifold off the head, and makes it lighter. These things are heavy. There's a lot of iron in that head. My dad's joined us. Take the carburetor off the manifold, what's left of the manifold. We were just discussing
dropping tools.
We were just discussing, and we think that little valve there is for the dual fuel setup. I'm not sure, but the main comes in the back, and that's the fitting for another one to come around the top.
There should be a screen in here too. That's why it's shaped like it. There's a screen in there.
And on top of here, that is the end. It's got a linkage that goes from the other side of the motor through to work the throttle valve, as it's a governed engine. This is the same. The UM is the same motor that they put in the later UC tractors. Did they put these in the U as well, or they eventually put them in the U as well? Okay.
And they changed them all at the same time.
They got away from the flathead Continental.
Yeah, this was a better motor supposedly.
The only biggest complaint I've got about this one is with the fuel tank on top of the motor like that, you got to take the fuel tank off to get the valve cover off. So if you have to do any valve setting or anything,
still better than a new truck. You got to take the cab off the truck to pull ahead.
Oh yeah, there's that.
Got a starter, and I hope it's usable.
Yeah, it does have a starter. I think I saw it had a. It's got an oil pressure valve gauge, and there's another gauge lower that. Nope, that is your starter button. I saw the back end, thought it was a gauge. I wonder if it might have had a voltmeter there. I'm not sure what was in that spot.
Ammeter.
You think it's an ammeter? It's got a brass ferrule that it sits in.
Well, that's because of them old style gauges.
This is your controls the governor position for your throttle. It's not really a throttle. It runs the throttle through the governor like the farmhouse did.
Well, shoot.
Hung up on the linkage.
Yeah. Well, let's get the head off and I can get at it.
Okay, it's disconnected from the head anyway. Next we'll start on the manifold. Alright, so Dad pointed out to me what was a major failing here. You can see here the carburetor connects to the manifold here and it goes up, but this is the exhaust manifold. The intake manifold is up here. So what you've got, you can see a hole there and a hole there. There was a tube that connected the two of them, and that was to heat up your intake air going in to be able to run your dual fuel. That was a failure on this manifold design that was very common. It would burn that tube out and it would no longer run right. And you'd be sucking the exhaust straight into the intake. You'd be sucking the fuel mixture straight into the exhaust up the pipe. All sorts of bad juju. So you see there, that would be a problem. So nasty stuck bolt nut. There was a nasty stuck one. There was a nasty stuck one. Requires extra persuasion.
Fire wrench.
Where the bolt goes through the manifold, or the stud goes through the manifold, it's got some corrosion and it's stuck on the stud. So we heat up a little bit there.
Get some bad. Not pretty. Not pretty at all.
Granted, it's in the heads, but still.
But the head is savable if it's too far gone. The 3/4 inch wrench, I want to do the water pump because it stays down. I don't know, maybe get that out there. No.
Nope. It's not a 3/4 inch wrench anyway, I see. out of 19. Disconnect the water pump from the head. The water pump can stay in place while we take the head off.
Oh, easier said than done. See if you can get them over there. I'll have to heat this one.
Then it's stuck in the casing where it goes, because that bolt goes all the way through that casing and threads into the head. So there's rust and corrosion built up in between the bolt and that casing, and that's why it's stuck there.
Wrench.
Farm cheater.
Maybe. It's a little bit better. It ain't going easy.
Sometimes pulling it when you got a little bit of room, sometimes working it back will loosen it up a little bit. Working on getting the head bolts out. We've got the water leg off. We were able to, once the water leg was off, we were able to pop the valve cover off, and you can see the interior of the motor, other than a little bit of dirt that we got in there from when we popped the valve cover off, wasn't real nasty dirty. The valve stuck, and it turned since that valve stuck.
Not lately.
Not lately, but it did turn since that valve got stuck.
Hi, DJ.
So.
Hi.
What's cooking, dude? Watching, nothing else.
So, on this engine, the oil supply for the rockers comes up actually through one of the head studs.
Yeah, that last one's hollow.
The last stud is hollow. And that supplies oil through the rocker shaft to the rockers.
Now this is a Waukesha design motor built for Allis by Waukesha. Allis may have cast it themselves, but Waukesha designed it. This was their replacement for the old flathead Continental they were using. I need some small ones here. Yeah, where you at? There we go.
Well, on the outside you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 studs. On the inside you've got studs in pairs. You got 2, 2, and you got a cluster of 3, 2 and 2.
Push rod straight yet.
What's up, bud?
What are we looking at?
Found it.
What'd you find?
I need to get
It's heavy. Well, I don't know. Yeah, it's about as bad as it.
move my foot, and I'm gonna go right there. Sit down. All right.
Well,
that is what is inside of it.
back one is saveable. Same as the other tractor. The rear one's saveable.
It's very dirty.
Well, this is corrosion.
That's what happened. You let
Rust.
water run down inside of a motor for about 45, 50 years.
Sadly. This is very it's a very nice tractor. I want to know if,
This.
I wonder if we could throw something away like this.
Well, they just
Found something better. But it's not.
probably.
Well, there's
mouse.
there's the engineer. There's Fluffy. Fluffy's house.
Oh, remember we named that one cat up in North Dakota engineer?
I don't remember that.
He had little white paws and he was covered in dust and oil.
I don't remember it.
He's over at the shop.
All one of John's cats.
Yes. Engineer's his name.
Yeah, he had two of them last. I saw he had just the one.
This is chunks off pieces of the top of the piston.
Yeah.
So
New pistons, yay.
new sleeves, new pistons, new valves, new
New.
cylinder liners, and hopefully not a new head.
Let's look underneath.
That looks pretty good, actually.
Better than the other one.
I think that one, we can save that one.
Well, the other one can be saved. It's going to take a lot of work.
So,
Yeah, that's...
one afternoon, torn down to the cylinders.
Now the real challenge is getting them rusted out dogs out of there.
Yeah,
Let me know when to stop.
You can stop.
you can stop.